Welcome to StudyIQ. So we will continue our discussion on history. So we have reached up to Cripps mission, and then we have also discussed about Wavell plan in the last session. So we are actually discussing a question related to World War II, that is, discuss the impact of World War II on Indian freedom struggle. So if you remember, we are in this phase, the last phase, 1937 to 1947. So we have discussed complete modern history from 1757 to 1947 in different phases. So 6 phases we have done, like 1757 to 1857, 1857 to 1885, 85 to 1905, 1905 to 1921, 1921 to 31, 31 to 37. All the important events, governor generals, everything we have covered, personalities, whatever is required for exam point of view from prelims as well as mains we have covered. So here now we are in the last session, and the last phase, that is 1937 to 1947, and in this we have actually discussed about elections which was held in 1937 and the 28 months of Congress rule and the achievements, criticisms, everything we have covered. And we have started off with this particular question, that is the impact of World War II on the Indian freedom struggle and all the events which are going to happen from 1939 to 1946-47. All are connected to World War II. We have seen August offer. I've told you how is it connected to the World War II, what was the context of August offer, and then when we discussed about Cripps mission in 1942, it was also connected to World War II, and then Wavell plan also. All these are connected to World War II. So what was actually the context of August offer, if you ask me? See, the war started in 1939. So in 1939 itself, there was a question, that is in the minds of Congress, whether to support the Indian troops involvement in World War II or not. The same question which was there in World War I also. So here also there was a question, and in the Varda session of 1939, the Congress Working Committee have passed a resolution that the Congress will support the Indian troops involvement in World War II subject to two conditions. The conditions are, there should be immediate substantial devolution of power even before the Indian troops participation in World War II, and secondly, there has to be a constituent assembly immediately after the war to transfer power to the Indians. And at that time it was actually rejected by the British government, and they did not care much about this. But when the war started, in the first 9 months itself, the Axis powers are emerging victorious, and I've told you in the first 9 months itself, Germany managed to capture France, Belgium and Holland, and that strike fear in the minds of British, and they have understood that this war is not going to be a short-term war, it will be a long-term war, and for that you need the support of Indians and the Congress. So they came up with an offer in August 1940. That is what August offer. So you can see 1939 war started after 9 months of setbacks. They come up with this, okay? And in August offer we have discussed the points, that is, the first one was related to dominion status, and I've told you this is for the first time ever that the Britishers are actually offering dominion status to Indians like the white colonies, which was the demand of Congress from 1905 onwards, but it was a demand only till 1928 Nehru report. And in 1929, under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, we have passed Purna Swaraj resolution, and from there onwards we are actually demanding complete independence and not dominion status, and because of that it was actually rejected by Congress. And the second proposal in the August offer was, there should be a constituent assembly as demanded in the Varda session, and it will be mainly composed of Indians once the war gets over, okay? So here you need to remember that word, it will be mainly composed of Indians. And the third point was related to minorities, that any future adoption of constitution will not be done without the consent of minorities. And I've told you it was a tactic move by the British to turn the Muslim League against the Congress, and I've told you how is it going to work out and everything. And then if you see 1939 to 1942, the Axis powers emerging victorious. So in 1942 they again were so desperate to get the Indian support, because Japan in this side was capturing the eastern part of China, they captured Korea, and they are in control of French colonies when Germany defeated France, okay? So because of all this, and they have reached Burma, and the British started facing severe setbacks in Burma against Japan. So they are desperate to get the support of Indians, and they came up with Cripps mission in 1942. So the context of August of we understood, context of Cripps mission also we have discussed. Both are connected to World War II, and in Cripps mission also Dominion status they have offered the same thing, and they have also talked about a Constituent Assembly after the war. But here in this Constituent Assembly it will be solely or only Indians. But if you remember in August offer it was mainly Indians, here it is solely Indians. Okay, and there was one more provision in Cripps mission that if any of the province does not want to join the Indian Union, they can form a union of their own. That means there is a right to secede, and Jawaharlal Nehru argued that will lead to balkanization of the country. And because of these two provisions, that is Dominion status and right to secession, the Congress rejected this, and the rejection of Cripps mission led to Quit India movement. And we have discussed Quit India movement in detail. Gandhi was declared as the leader, gave a call for do or die. It was a violent movement. August 8 it was started from Bombay. August 9 most of the leaders were arrested, and the responsibility of leading the Quit India movement was left out in the hands of the middle level leadership, and all those things we have actually discussed. Failure of August offer led to individual satyagraha, and we have seen the individual satyagrahis. Failure of Cripps mission led to Quit India movement. And now 1942 onwards US came to the war along with allied powers, so the Axis power started facing severe reverses. Germans started facing severe reverses, and Germans actually surrendered. And in 1945, actually under the pressure from US, British government came up with talks to Congress. Even though Germans surrendered, but Japanese forces and Japan is still alive in the war. So under US pressure, they came up with the talks, and that's what Wavell Plan. And we have discussed Wavell Plan also in detail. The Dominion status offer remained the same. That is one point. Constituent Assembly, that is also there. The third one was except the post of Viceroy and Commander-in-Chief, everything else will be devolved to Indians. Okay, that was the third recommendation. And the fourth one was the problematic one here, that there will be equal representation for Hindus and Muslims in the Constituent Assembly. And Muslim League took it in a different way. They have argued that the Muslim representation should come only from Muslim League, and Congress have seen this as a very irrational and radical position from the Muslim League side, because Congress will be branded as a Hindu organization if no Muslim leaders are coming from Congress. And if you remember, I've talked about many Muslim leaders from Congress side like Badruddin Tyabji, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, and all these people we have actually discussed before. So if you when we talked about Quit India movement, I've told you parallelly there was another movement which was going on, that is INA, because the only one war which was fought in Indian soil during World War II was Battle of Kohima, and that war was fought against the British by Japanese army and Indian soldiers together, that is INA soldiers. Okay, so INA was formed by Mr. Mohan Singh, who was a soldier. And how is it formed? It was formed with the help of around 15,000 Indian army. How? Because when these people, the British and Japanese, were fighting in Burma, I've told you already, British forces started facing severe setbacks, and that led to withdrawal of British forces from Burma. So the Indian forces who were left out there were captured by the Japanese soldiers, and with these Indian forces, Mr. Mohan Singh has formed an army. Okay, and they have given an assurance to the Japanese that they will help to overthrow British from Indian soil, and they formed the INA. And they actually fought along with Japanese forces in the Battle of Kohima, and they have reached the eastern part of India, and they have fought the war. And the significance of Battle of Kohima was that that's the only one war which was fought in the Indian soil. So if you remember how we have talked about militant nationalism, different stages. The first stage of militant nationalism we have discussed in 1908 to 1911 during the Swadeshi movement time, okay, during partition of Bengal. And then militant nationalism, that was the first phase. Second phase we have discussed during World War I under Khadar party. So all those things we have discussed, and here also they are not able to get any achievement. Here also no achievement, because in the first case the objective was to assassinate the unpopular officials, but that never happened. And here the objective was to instigate a mutiny among the Indian soldiers which was stationed abroad as well as in India. That also was never happened, because British government got this plan, and they have passed Defence of India Act, and through which they have imprisoned all the potential soldiers who are going to make make a mutiny or a revolt among the army. And the third phase of militant nationalism, which was more important, we have done separately, that was militant nationalism by HRA in North India and in Bengal. So one group by Bhagat Singh, and we have talked about Kakori, train robbery and all those things, and the other group was in Bengal. We have talked about Chittagong armory raid and everything. Okay, so these are three phases that we have discussed. And now the fourth phase of militant nationalism, if you ask me, that is what related to INA, or the militant nationalism during World War II was INA. Okay, so militant nationalism during World War I was Khadar Party. Militant nationalism during World War II was INA. So if you get a question on militant nationalism, all these four phases have to be accommodated in your answer. The first phase, that is related to Swadeshi movement, when the extremist leaders were arrested after the Surat split, the masses are left out with any leader, so they started taking bullets and guns, and they tried to assassinate unpopular British officials, but that never happened. Okay, and then Khadar Party during World War I, and then HRA in North India related to Kakori robbery. All those things we have discussed in detail, so I'm not spending time here. And then we have discussed about Surya Sen, Kalpana Dutt and all this, Sunidhi Chanteri and all this. And in the Bengal, we have talked about Chittagong armory raid. Okay, and then this is the fourth phase, that is during World War II, INA. Okay, so these four phases has to be accommodated if a question on militant nationalism. Otherwise also INA, you can get a separate question, INA and INA trial. We are going to discuss about INA trial now. So now what is the context of INA trial? So they fought a war, and once US joined the war, Japanese forces started facing setbacks, and ultimately they started withdrawing from the Indian soil, okay, from eastern part of India. So the INA soldiers were left out there. Even before that, INA soldiers had a lot of discontentment among the Japanese against the Japanese forces, because Japanese forces started taking Indian army or the INA armies as secondary forces, and a lot of discrimination was there, and this was actually generated discontentment among the INA. And also there was a question in their mind, if they help to overthrow British from Indian soil, what will be the future or the plight of Indians and India once British forces are overthrown from here? Will it be under Japan? And if it is under Japan, they are the very cruel people than the British. Okay, so all these were the questions, and by this time Japanese forces started facing setbacks and they withdrew. So ultimately British have taken all these INA soldiers and they have brought them back to India, and they have put them on public trial, and that's what INA trial. So here we will be talking about INA trial in detail. So the British basically want to send a message to the soldiers that they won't tolerate any indiscipline or any bad behavior from the army side. Okay, so that's why they put these people on public trial. Initially they put 3 people on public trial, which was held in Red Fort: Gurubaksh Singh Dhillon, Shah Nawaz Khan, Prem Sehgal. Okay, so and the Congress have taken or seen this as an opportunity to rally the nationalist cause. Actually they have taken it as a nationalist cause, and many Congress leaders actually came up and defended the case of INA soldiers victims or INA trial victims, like Motilal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, Tej Bahadur Sapru, etc. came and defended the case of these people, Gurubaksh Singh Dhillon, Shah Nawaz Khan and Prem Sehgal. Okay, during 1905 to 11 time of this year, Congress actually celebrated INA week, and they have mobilized funds also to help the families of INA trial victims, and November 12 was celebrated as INA Day. So INA week from November 5 to November 11, and November 12 was celebrated as INA Day, and that actually helped to generate a lot of sentiments among the minds of the people, and that actually led to emergence of nationalist consciousness among the masses. So actually Congress used this as a great opportunity to turn the masses against the British. Okay, so that is actually the significance of INA trial. So let's quickly write down the important points related to INA trial. So I don't want to talk about INA. We have already discussed that in 1942 it was formed by Mohan Singh with the Indian army, who was captured by the Japanese forces, and they have promised the Japanese forces that they will help to overthrow the British from India. And 1943 Subhash Chandra Bose assumed the leadership, and he unfurled the Indian flag in Rangoon. He landed in Andaman and he unfurled the Indian flag over there, and he formed a autonomous provincial government over there. In Rangoon also Subhash Chandra Bose formed provincial autonomous government. autonomous government over there. Okay, so all these things we have discussed in one of our previous video when we discussed about Cripps mission itself. That's why I'm not talking in detail about INA. Here we are focusing on INA trial. Okay, and then Subhash Chandra Bose also made it clear that INA and Bose will come to India and will participate in the Indian freedom struggle only with the support of Congress, okay, and Gandhi. Otherwise, they won't come and participate in the Indian freedom struggle. So he actually made it very clear in his stand. Okay, so this is what INA. And when the Japanese forces withdrew from the eastern part of India, they were captured by the British Army and brought them back to Delhi in India, and they were put on public trial. So we are talking about INA trial. So INA soldiers had been captured by the British once the Japanese forces retreated and brought back to India and put on a trial. Okay, so that's what INA trial. Okay, and why? British were keen to send out a message to the Indian soldiers that no indiscipline would be tolerated by the British. To do this, they put 3 Indian soldiers on the first public trial, that was held in Red Fort. Now, who are they? As I've told you, Guru Bakshak Singh Dhillon, Shah Nawaz Khan, and Prem Sehgal. Okay, so Guru Bakshak Singh Dhillon, Shah Nawaz Khan, and Prem Sehgal. Okay, so actually you can see here 3 people are selected from 3 different religion. So Guru Bakshak Singh Dhillon was a Sikh, okay, and then Shah Nawaz Khan was a Muslim, and Prem Sehgal was a Hindu. Okay, now however the trials were actually defended by, so let me write that also, Motilal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Tej Bahadur Sapru, and they have rallied a nationalist cause behind this INA trial. Okay, so however, in the trials of INA soldiers, Congress saw an opportunity to rally the nationalist cause, and thus congressmen like Motilal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, Tej Bahadur Sapru, they fought the case of INA trial victims against British. Okay, so we have already discussed this point. Now, what about INA week and INA day? November 5 to 11, 1945, the Congress organized as INA week and collected funds for families of INA soldiers, and November 12, 1945 was celebrated as INA day. Okay, so INA day was November 12, 1945, and November 5 to 11, that was INA week, and they have collected or raised funds for the families of INA soldiers. Okay, now it actually generated people's sentiments and nationalist consciousness and mass mobilization, you can see, because of this. Okay, so Congress used this as a great opportunity to mobilize masses and to send message to the public also to rally behind a nationalist cause. So I hope this is clear for you. So then this actually motivated the Rin Mutiny. So Rin Mutiny we will be discussing separately in the next video. That also is a possible question in mains as well as prelims. Okay, so if you have any doubt in any of the videos that we have done so far, you can get in touch with me here. This is my Instagram ID. You can join the Telegram channel for all my videos. Okay, so I hope you understood whatever we have discussed. So see you guys. Thank you.